Welcome, adventurer. I must admit, I didn't expect anyone to reach my study, a place accessible only through one of the many landings on the infinite staircase. Nonetheless, you have arrived, and if you're here seeking knowledge, you've come to the right place. Let us begin with stories and descriptions of the Illithid, or mind flayers, as they're commonly known. Another creature, such as yourself, perhaps, with an unending thirst for knowledge. These beings once held unimaginable power. Their domains spread across worlds, held aloft by unmatched psionic skill and an unquenchable hunger for the minds of other beings. From astral realms, they launched vessels called nautiloids, enabling them to travel between planes and harvest intelligent life as if it were a mere resource. But what happened to these empires? Fractured historical recounts tell us that the Illithids fell from greatness with astonishing speed. Their rise ended when the Gith, once enslaved by them, revolted. In less than a year, the Mind Flayer empire crumbled. The Gith not only shattered their astral domains, but pursued the survivors across countless worlds. Ever since, the Illithids have remained in hiding, deep below the surface, clinging to existence far from the light of day. As we begin this journey, we stand at a threshold of past and present. In the coming segment, I will guide you through the Illithids' physical nature, their chilling life cycle, their reliance on psionics, and their desperate strategies for survival. Their history is a cautionary tale, an account of grand ambition humbled by rebellion and ruin. Let us proceed with care, for the truths we uncover about the Illithids serve as both warning and weapon, arming us with understanding against whatever shadows linger below. Consider for a moment the shape of an Illithid. You might note first their overall resemblance to a slender humanoid, though their limbs are lean and their posture oddly fluid. Their skin, most often pale purples or muted violets, gleams with a faint sheen that suggests dampness. Simple robes or cloaks hint at some form of culture, but provide little comfort to those who must stand before such a being. An elongated skull tapers where a face should be, and no nose or ears break its smooth surface. Instead, 4 supple tentacles splay out around a hidden maw. These appendages twitch and coil almost independently, and the eyes, set deep beneath that polished dome of a head, betray neither warmth nor mercy. Everything about their appearance suggests a life spent apart from what we consider familiar, an unsettling reminder that not all minds wear kind faces. Among those devoted to cataloguing the threats lurking below, some have dared to quantify the Illithid's abilities in a calm, scholarly manner. These meticulous records come from researchers who believe that understanding each nuance of a monster's nature, be it physical, mental, or mystical, can grant defenders of the surface a better chance of survival. Such attempts to assign numbers and terms, an armor class, points of health, are observations made from learned minds who seek patterns in chaos. By tabulating these qualities, they hope to inform defenders who must one day stand before such creatures. In these scores and measures, we glimpse the Illithid as something more tangible, yet the terror it evokes remains as intangible as the nightmares it leaves behind. As recorded, a common mind flayer stands just shy of human height and bears a sort of breastplate that grants it an armor class measured at a value of 15. Those who have measured vitality claims it averages around 71 points of health. Its speed matches that of a human adult, some 30 feet in a calm stride. Scholars set its strength at 11, a similar level to that of the average human. Its dexterity is rated at a moderate but adequate 12. Its constitution, standing at a formidable 19, suggests a creature both resilient and enduring in the face of physical challenges. An Illithid's intelligence, wisdom, and charisma all stand at 17, placing it as one of the keenest known beings and a creature that perceives its surroundings with unnerving clarity, exerting a quiet, compelling presence. These scholars also note that the mind flayers resist hostile magics with uncanny ease, a trait referred to as magic resistance. Their innate mental talents allow them to sense thoughts, levitate off the ground with the power of their minds, and also the power to dominate the minds of even the mightiest of creatures. As a means of escape, they have also been observed to shift to other planes of existence entirely. In combat, an Illithid's preferred tools are its tentacles, striking with practiced swiftness and terrifying precision. Their signature assault, the Mind Blast, showers a cone of foes with psychic force, often leaving them reeling and thoughtless, thus paving the way for their most dreaded act, the extraction of a victim's brain. An Illithid does not hunt as other predators do. Instead of craving bone or flesh, it yearns for intellect itself. By consuming brains, these creatures gain more than nourishment. They inherit thoughts, memories, and a clever insight once locked within their victim's mind. Such a meal enriches not just the individual Illithid, but the entire colony, for knowledge flows through them as easily as whispers in a silent room. Their greatest strength lies in the realm of psionics, that quiet art of bending will and thought. Illithids communicate telepathically, bypassing words and language barriers with ease. A single concentrated thought can stun an opponent, turn a friend against ally, or render cunning defences useless. In this way, brute force matters less than a sharpened mental blade. By mastering the currents of thought, these beings have shaped their existence around what they value most, the power that comes from devouring knowledge and wielding the mind itself as a weapon. Though their empire's downfall lies in centuries past, the Illithids have never escaped the long shadows cast by their foes. Chief among these enemies are the Githzerai and Githyanki, two former factions born from a single people once enslaved by the Mind Flayers. Freed through violent uprising, the Gith now carry an age-old vendetta, striking at hidden lairs and rooting out Illithid strongholds with tireless resolve. Each time an Illithid colony thinks it has found safe refuge, a Gith hunting party may appear at the threshold, blades and psionics prepared to finish what their ancestors began. Beyond the Gith, other dangers lurk. Dwagar, dwarves twisted by Illithid influence, harbour old hatreds. Drow, Grimlocks, and countless Underdark predators roam the lightless tunnels, ever ready to seize advantage. In such a world, the Illithids trust no one. Every knock at a secret door could herald an invasion. Every captured thrall could be a spy waiting to betray them. This state of constant vigilance shapes their entire existence. Where once they planned grand conquests, now they reinforce hidden defences and devise ways to remain unseen. The Illithids fear that any misstep may draw a blade to their backs, and so they move quietly, speak softly, and ever look into the darkness beyond their lairs, wondering who or what lies in wait. At the heart of every thriving Illithid colony lies an elder brain, a being formed from the brains of deceased Illithids and sustained in a pool of psionic-infused brine. More than a mere leader, this entity is a living repository of the colony's collective knowledge. Through it, each Illithid remains in constant telepathic communion with its kin, sharing new insights, stray memories, and urgent alerts without a word. In this silent network, the Elder Brain occupies a position akin to an absolute monarch, issuing commands, judging disputes, and deciding the direction of their grand experiments. No secret within a colony remains hidden for long, for if one Illithid perceives something, so does the Elder Brain. In turn, the Elder Brain's wisdom ensures that the community adapts swiftly to threats, adjusts its strategies, and refines its cruel designs. Though it rules without kindness, the Elder Brain's influence holds the colony together. Illithids trust it entirely, not from loyalty or emotion, but from the knowledge that their collective survival depends on its guidance. Through the Elder Brain, the colony persists, even when surrounded by enemies, its many minds knit into one formidable will. Within an Illithid colony, every chamber serves a purpose, reflecting the Elder Brain's overarching will. These lairs are often hidden deep underground or tucked into remote, nearly inaccessible locations, and though individual layouts may differ, certain rooms appear time and again, woven together by labyrinthine corridors and guarded by ever-watchful thralls. At the colony's heart lies the Elder Brain resting pool, a central chamber where the Elder Brain floats in brine. Typically enclosed by nearly impenetrable barriers, this sanctum radiates psionic commands throughout the colony. Here, all Illithids gather, at times, to debate philosophy or exchange discoveries, but more often to remain quietly perceptive to the Elder Brain's telepathic directives. Beyond this core are Illithid quarters, private rooms claimed by each mind flayer. Within these small cells, Illithids indulge their particular obsessions, from biological experimentation to eerie forms of art. Some maintain cages of living specimens for study, others refine psionic techniques in unsettling silence. Close by lies the Brain Library, a hall lined with jars that preserve still-living brains. Here, Illithids study foreign memories and exotic knowledge harvested from victims. For more direct investigation, they turn to nearby dissection chambers, where organs are examined, catalogued, and stored. A separate brain chamber may hold entire troves of thoughtfully curated intellects, each one suspended in fluids that keep it alert and accessible for research. Before any creature becomes part of these intellectual hordes, they often pass through the cleansing chambers, where fresh captives are stripped of weapons, gear, and illusions of freedom. Those deemed unsuitable for more ambitious fates languish in the colony's prison, caged and monitored, awaiting a grim conclusion, be it consumption, experimentation, or transformation. Speaking of transformations, the Illithids maintain a transformation chamber, a specialized cell block where chosen victims undergo psionic bombardment and surgical adaptation. Most die or become twisted thralls. A rare few emerge changed in ways that serve the colony's intricate plans. Scattered along the perimeter, guard rooms stand watch over hidden entrances. Thralls, constructs, and other guardians lurk here, ready to respond at the first sign of intrusion. Meanwhile, the colony's labouring servants rest and gather in the common room, a space lined with simple racks of supplies, bland rations, and tools for daily upkeep. Some colonies also maintain a tadpole chamber, small pools separated from the main brine pool, ensuring a backup stock of Illithid progeny should disaster strike the colony. Together, these rooms form a carefully managed ecosystem, each part serving the collective's ambitions. There is no wasted space, no random addition. Everything is arranged to shield the elder brain, maintain the flow of knowledge, and guarantee that captives can be processed and repurposed. In these secret halls, the Illithids sculpt their reality, preparing for a future they hope will one day return them to the pinnacle of dominion they once enjoyed. To create more of their kind, Illithids rely on a method as horrifying as it is effective. They begin with tiny, squirming tadpoles that hatch from Illithid eggs and swim in a brine pool overseen by the elder brain. When a suitable humanoid is captured, a tadpole is introduced into the victim's skull, usually through an ear canal or nostril. Over the course of several days, this parasite devours the host's brain and fuses with its body, moulding flesh and bone into a new form, a fully mature Illithid. This process, known as ceremorphosis, leaves little of the host's original self intact. Occasionally, faint memories linger, but they are mere fragments overshadowed by the overpowering intellect and hunger of the newborn mind flayer. The result is a creature wholly devoted to its colony's survival and the elder brain's grand designs. At times, ceremorphosis produces unusual results. Some hosts yield stronger or more gifted Illithids, known as Illithrids, while rare failures give rise to twisted variants. Such outcomes underscore how ceremorphosis rests at the crossroads of experimentation and horror, a delicate balance that can spawn wonders or abominations, all at the expense of another being's life. In their current predicament, the Illithids know brute force alone won't reclaim what they once held. Instead, they rely on hidden brilliance shaped by centuries of loss. This grand design, some might call it their ultimate scheme, guides their quiet research into ways to strengthen their mental powers, outsmart their foes, and perhaps even restore their great empire. Within the depths of their colonies, mind flayers conduct experiments on living thralls and captive creatures, probing the boundaries of physical and mental endurance. Some hope to uncover latent psionic talents in their victims or breed more obedient soldiers. Others seek knowledge of plagues, famines, or subtle magics that could weaken hostile civilizations from within. In every twisted laboratory, fresh ideas and forbidden studies mingle, all aimed at a future where Illithids no longer cower in the darkness. Thralls, those luckless beings whose minds have been hollowed out and refilled with Illithid commands, enable much of this work. They perform menial tasks, guard access to crucial chambers, and serve as living test subjects. To the Illithids, thralls are more than tools. They are building blocks in a careful strategy, each one a stepping stone on the path to renewed dominance. This quiet planning reveals the Illithids' faith in intellect over raw strength. Where others might charge onto the battlefield, these creatures envision countless scenarios, each refined through trial and cruel error. In silence, they forge the means not just to survive, but to subvert entire societies, turning cities into farms of minds ripe for harvest. Though much has already been said of those who stand fiercely against the Illithids, the world teems with beings whose motives, strengths, and appetites pose their own challenges. Consider the Underdark's other denizens, Dwagar, who toil in stony gloom, Drow, woven into webs of cruelty and ambition, and Grimlocks, who suffer twisted histories under mind flayer influence. Each may be a potential threat or a resource to a cunning Illithid colony. Flumps, gentle siphoners of psychic residue, drift quietly through these realms. While no match for mind flayers in direct conflict, their presence suggests that even the bleakest corners harbour curious watchers and subtle balances. Other aberrations, slimes and oozes can be manipulated or avoided. The Illithids excel at subtle adaptation, turning predators into unwitting guards or steering encroaching horrors away through telepathic misdirection. True alliances, however, remain rare. Illithids operate best alone or as leaders of thralls, not partners. If any alliance forms, it is a fragile thing, an arrangement of necessity rather than trust. These creatures rarely share genuine camaraderie. Instead, they barter in power and knowledge, then depart as soon as advantage wanes. In this quiet exchange, surrounded by hungering beasts and watchful eyes, Illithids thread a path of constant calculation. For them, every neighbour can be shaped or influenced, every presence a tool to redirect or a threat to silence. They do not seek friendship, they seek control. In the time before their empire's fall, Illithids travelled boldly between worlds and planes. They possessed a means of conveyance both wondrous and terrible, the nautiloids. These ships, part machine and part living construct, resembled enormous shells fitted with grasping tentacles. Through their psionic controls, Illithids could guide these vessels across astral expanses, bridging unimaginable distances in search of new victims and resources. Such daring voyages allowed them to pluck intelligent beings from countless realms. Locked away in these crafts, future thralls awaited their fate. With a nautiloid's help, no horizon was truly out of reach. To lesser minds, these journeys might have seemed epic. To Illithids, they were routine errands in the endless harvest of consciousness. Today, nautiloids have become precious relics. Most were lost or destroyed during the Empire's collapse, and few survivors know how to build new ones. Those that remain form the backbone of a colony's escape plan, kept hidden and guarded jealously. To pilot one again would be to recall lost greatness, an act that hints at ambitions never fully extinguished. For now, these vessels remain hushed whispers in underground halls. Their existence reminds all who know of them that once the Illithids dared to span the cosmos. If fortune ever favours these lurking masterminds once again, one can imagine them unfurling their tentacles and setting sail into the infinite, ready to reclaim what time and rebellion stole from them. Over the centuries, Illithids have employed their psionic talents and warped perspectives to create or reshape a startling variety of creatures. Some result from deliberate experiments, carefully shaped to serve the colony's designs. Others arise from accidents, tadpoles left unchecked, minds twisted beyond recognition, or strange unions with other aberrations. Here we explore numerous examples, each reflective of the mind flayers' relentless drive to bend life to their will. Consider this an annotated list of known aberrations, each group bearing the unmistakable mark of Illithid influence. The cranium rat. Ordinary rats exposed to Illithid psionic energy undergo a profound transformation. A single cranium rat is clever for a rodent, its skull partially exposed and faintly glowing, yet on its own it remains a minor threat. The true danger emerges when many cranium rats gather, merging their minds telepathically into a collective intelligence. In swarms, they achieve a cunning that rivals the Illithids themselves, manifesting coordinated attacks and tactics and even limited spell-like powers. Mind flayers sometimes seed these rats in distant communities, using their shared telepathy to spy over great distances. In this way, what appears to be a scattered pack of vermin becomes a hidden network of eyes and ears serving an elder brain's far-reaching agenda. Encephalons, encephalon clusters, and encephalon gemmules. When Illithid tadpoles fail to proceed through the standard ceremorphosis or are left without direction, chaos ensues. Encephalons are formed in such conditions, pulsing, half-realised horrors representing failed attempts at creating proper Illithids. An encephalon cluster emerges when multiple malformed tadpoles devour one another, coalescing into a massive, ravenous brain creature driven by raw hunger and fractured instincts. Their spawn, the encephalon gemmules, dart about as smaller versions, capable of maturing into new clusters if left unchecked. Together, they form as grim reminders of what happens when Illithid breeding pools go awry, creating self-replicating monsters that even mind flayers approach with caution. The Grell Psychic. The Grell is normally a floating, beaked brain with trailing tentacles, an almost alien predator in its own right. When Illithids meddle with such a creature, infusing it with psionic energy, the resulting Grell Psychic gains new mental powers, trading raw savagery for a more calculated menace. These altered Grell apply psionic tactics to paralyze prey and break enemy formations. Though still predatory, their heightened mental abilities can make them useful to a colony looking to soften up targets before sending in more direct thralls. The Mind Flayer Nothic. A Nothic is a deformed scholar, cursed with singular vision and curiosity. Illithid influence can warp a Nothic's nature further, blending its innate hunger for knowledge with the Illithid's psionic imprint. The Mind Flayer Nothic becomes a twisted blend of predator and researcher, peering into victims' minds as both feast and a study. Although less controlled than a typical thrall, these creatures serve as roaming agents of confusion, each encounter leaving survivors uncertain of what knowledge was stolen or what doom the Illithids now plan. The Intellect Devourer. Foremost among the Illithid's subtle agents, intellect devourers are brains given legs and a relentless hunger for thought. These grotesque entities possess a pair of clawed appendages and a sinister maw, enabling them to infiltrate communities with chilling efficiency. Their primary method of subversion involves slipping into bodies of unsuspecting humanoids by consuming the occupant's mind. Once inside, the intellect devourer takes control, effectively wearing its victim like a puppet. This process not only nullifies the individual's personality and memories, but also transforms them into unwitting servants of the Illithid colony's goals. The Intellect Snare. In contrast to the mobile and manipulative intellect devourers, intellect snares function as static traps composed of concentrated psionic residue. These snares manifest as ethereal knots or pulsating nodes of pure thought energy, strategically placed in areas frequented by intelligent beings. Unlike creatures, intellect snares do not move or actively seek out victims. Instead, they lie in wait, ready to ensnare any passing consciousness that comes too close. When a sentient being comes within range, the intellect snare activates, enveloping the target in a psychic grip that plunders memories and disrupts mental clarity. Victims caught in such snares experience a rapid loss of cognitive functions, leaving them disoriented, confused, and vulnerable to further Illithid manipulation or attack. The process is silent and invisible, making intellect snares particularly effective in environments where overt threats might be quickly noticed and avoided. Intellect snares serve as both defensive and offensive tools within Illithid colonies. Defensively, they protect critical areas by weakening or eliminating intruders before they can alert others to the colony's presence. Offensively, they can be used to destabilize communities by eroding the mental resilience of key individuals, making it easier for Illithids to exert control or sow chaos. Their invisible nature ensures that they remain effective barriers and instruments of psychological warfare, embodying the Illithid's preference for subtlety and manipulation over brute force. The Mind Witness. Beholders are fearsome aberrations in their own right, but when Illithids capture one and induce ceremorphosis, the result is a Mind Witness. No longer wielding chaotic eye-beams, this hybrid channels psionic influence in perfect alignment with the colony's collective will. A Mind Witness acts as a telepathic relay, extending the Elder Brain's awareness and coordinating complex maneuvers that leave enemies surrounded before they even know they're under attack. The Neothelids. Few terrors give even Illithids pause like the Neolithid. Born when a tadpole pool is left unguarded, its inhabitants turn on each other, leaving one monstrous survivor. This huge, worm-like creature prowls deep tunnels, spewing acidic secretions and devouring anything it encounters. With raw psionic might, but without the guiding intelligence of an elder brain, the Neolithid epitomizes the Illithid's worst fear: immense power without discipline, a living reminder that their methods can breed horrors beyond even their control. Psionic Goblins. By exerting subtle influence over tribes of goblins, Illithids culture psionic goblins, lesser humanoids gifted with telepathic ability. Some specialize in close combat, becoming goblin psi-brawlers, channeling mental strength into every strike. Others ride to leadership as goblin psi commanders, guiding squads of enthralled minions with a mental precision that rivals Illithid ambition. Such creatures serve as expendable foot soldiers or infiltration teams, softening targets before the mind flayers themselves arrive. The Surlons. These worm-like aberrations hail from places beyond the material plane and share the Illithid's appetite for sentient minds. When Surlons and Illithids find common ground, usually through mutual convenience, they can form uneasy pacts. The Surlons contribute their otherworldly insight, and the Illithids provide structure or targets. Though these alliances rarely last, they demonstrate that the Mind Flayer's manipulations extend even to beings who understand their hunger all too well. The Psychic Grey Ooze. Grey oozes, normally featureless and mindless, can absorb psionic residues and develop strange mental qualities. A psychic grey ooze lurks silently, then strikes with surprising cunning. Illithids may leave these creatures to guard passages or weaken intruders, confident that a creature capable of harming both body and mind will deter any but the most determined foe. Now, for a look at some of the more interesting Illithid experiments and offshoots. The Elder Brain Dragon. The Elder Brain Dragon stands at the zenith of Illithid ingenuity and the relentless pursuit of ultimate dominance. This colossal entity is the result of the darkest and most ambitious experiments conducted by the Mind Flayers, where the essence of an elder brain is intricately fused with the raw, primordial might of a dragon. Through arcane rituals and potent psionic manipulation, Illithids merge these two powerful beings, creating a living symbol of their supremacy that embodies both collective intellect and draconic ferocity. Visually imposing, the Elder Dragon melds the majestic and terrifying aspects of traditional dragons with unmistakable Illithid features. Its vast, muscular body is cloaked in scales that shimmer with a sickly iridescence, reflecting hues of deep purples, eerie greens, and pulsating blues, colours reminiscent of the Elder Brain's briny sanctum. Massive, leathery wings extend from its sides, their translucent membranes rippling with concentrated psionic energy, allowing the dragon to glide silently and with unnerving grace through the darkened caverns it calls home. The dragon's head is elongated and slightly flattened, retaining the characteristic tentacles of an elder brain that writhe and twitch with latent psionic power. These tentacles are not merely decorative, they serve as conduits for the dragon's formidable mental abilities. Its eyes glow with a malevolent intelligence, exuding an aura of both wisdom and relentless ambition. The maw is lined with rows of razor-sharp, crystalline teeth designed to shred both mind and flesh, ensuring that no opponent can withstand its dual assaults. Along its back, rows of spines pulse with psionic energy, each one capable of channeling mental force into devastating effects. These spines not only enhance the dragon's physical defences, but also serve as focal points for its psionic attacks, allowing it to unleash waves of mental devastation upon its foes. The Elder Brain Dragon is a nexus of psionic and draconic might, wielding powers that make it a near unstoppable force on any battlefield. Its most fearsome ability is its breath weapon, a devastating plume of psionic brine infused with mind-altering energies. This corrosive substance can sap the will of its adversaries, leaving them disoriented, vulnerable, and easy prey for follow-up attacks. The breath not only corrodes physical matter, but also disrupts mental defences, making it easier for the dragon to dominate or annihilate its targets. Beyond its breath weapon, the Elder Dragon possesses unparalleled psionic abilities. It can project powerful telepathic commands, controlling or manipulating multiple beings simultaneously. This ability turns entire battlefields into chaotic symphonies of mind-controlled servants, executing the dragon's every command with precision. Additionally, its presence alone can warp the fabric of reality around it, creating zones of altered perception where time slows, memories distort, and fear takes root in the hearts of even the bravest warriors. The dragon's tentacles grant it enhanced telepathic reach, allowing it to communicate and command its minions across vast distances without the need for spoken words. This seamless integration of psionics and physical might makes the Elder Brain Dragon a versatile and formidable adversary, capable of both direct confrontation and subtle manipulation. Within an Illithid colony, the Elder Brain Dragon serves as both a guardian and a symbol of ultimate authority. Stationed at the heart of the colony's most secure chambers, it acts as an extension of the Elder Brain's will, enforcing directives with uncompromising ferocity. Its ability to traverse planes of existence makes it an invaluable asset for scouting and expanding the colony's influence across multiple realms. The dragon is instrumental in strategic operations, leading incursions into new territories and subjugating resistance before Illithid forces can establish a foothold. Its presence alone can quell rebellions and instill deep-seated fear among potential adversaries, ensuring that the Illithid legacy remains unchallenged. By serving as both a physical and psionic bulwark, the Elder Brain Dragon ensures the colony's resistance and adaptability in the face of ever-evolving threats. Encountering an Elder Brain Dragon is to confront the apex of Illithid ambition and their relentless pursuit of power. Moving on now to the Illithid. The Illithid represents the pinnacle of Illithid evolution, embodying both enhanced physical prowess and unparalleled psionic mastery. Born from the ceremorphosis process, when a tadpole's transformation results in an Illithid, the entire colony rejoices. This transformation heralds a significant surge in the collective intellect and strategic influence of the colony, as Illithids are instrumental in driving forward the Elder Brain's ambitious agendas. Illithids stand taller and more robust than their standard kin, their physiques exuding an aura of authority and strength. Their elongated skulls are more pronounced, often adorned with intricate psionic glyphs and bioluminescent markings that pulse in sync with their mental activities. These markings not only serve as symbols of their elevated status, but also enhance their innate psionic abilities, allowing them to project thoughts and commands with greater precision and power. Illithids are masters of psionics, their mental capabilities far surpassing those of typical Illithids. They possess an exceptional ability to manipulate and control psionic energies, enabling them to execute complex strategies and coordinate large-scale operations with seamless efficiency. In the hierarchy of an Illithid colony, Illithids often serve as the Elder Brain's favoured lieutenants, entrusted with critical missions that require both brute strength and sophisticated mental manipulation. In the strategic expansion of Illithid dominion, Illithids play a crucial role. When an Illithid decides to depart from the main colony, it leads a contingent of loyal mind flayers to establish a new lair. This process involves meticulous planning and the selection of a fertile site that can support a thriving colony. Should this endeavour succeed, the fledgling group may undergo its own ceremorphosis cycle, ultimately giving rise to a new Elder Brain. This mechanism ensures that the Illithid legacy perpetuates, spreading their influence across new territories and reinforcing their presence in the multiverse. Encountering an Illithid is to confront the future trajectory of the Mind Flayer race. These beings are not only more cunning and formidable, but also embody a relentless drive to reshape and dominate their surroundings. Their enhanced psionic abilities make them formidable opponents, capable of dismantling defences and manipulating minds with terrifying efficiency. Illithids combine their physical strength and devastating psionic assaults, making them versatile and deadly in both direct confrontations and subtle manipulations. Moreover, Illithids possess a keen sense of foresight and strategic planning, allowing them to anticipate and counteract threats before they fully materialize. Their presence within a colony ensures that Illithids remain adaptive and resilient, capable of overcoming challenges that might otherwise lead to their downfall. In essence, Illithids are the vanguard of Illithid evolution, driving their society towards ever greater heights of power and control. The creation and role of Illithids underscore the Illithids' commitment to intellectual and strategic supremacy. They are not merely extensions of the Elder Brain, but are leaders and visionaries in their own right, guiding their kin towards a future where Illithids reign supreme across multiple planes of existence. Facing an Illithid is not just confronting a powerful foe, but encountering the very embodiment of Illithid ambition and the relentless pursuit of dominance. Now we've examined the monstrous, often accidental offshoots of Illithid ambition, we turn towards a deliberate, self-chosen evolution of Illithid beings who reject the Elder Brain's authority and natural order. The Vampiric Mind Flayer. The Vampiric Mind Flayer stands as one of the most terrifying aberrations birthed from the Illithid's relentless pursuit of power and domination. This abomination is a result of a dark and forbidden experiment, wherein the essence of a mind flayer is intertwined with the necromantic energies that sustain undead creatures. The fusion of these two sinister forces creates a being that surpasses the inherent cruelty and psionic mastery of its progenitors with the relentless predation and unholy resilience of vampirism. Visually, the vampiric mind flayer retains the classic alien visage of its kind, an elongated skull with 4 twitching tentacles emanating from a concealed maw. However, its transformation into a vampiric entity brings stark and horrifying changes. Its skin takes on a pallid, almost translucent quality, marked by veins that pulsate with dark necrotic energy. Eyes that once glimmered with cold intelligence now burn with a predatory crimson light, reflecting an insatiable hunger that goes beyond mere brains and intelligence. Possibly the most horrifying aspect of the vampiric mind flayer is its dual appetite. It consumes the sweet, nutrient-rich fluid of brains, a staple of Illithid sustenance, but its thirst extends to the very essence of life itself. Through its vampiric nature, it drains the vitality and life force of its victims, leaving them as hollow shells, soulless husks devoid of both intellect and spirit. This dual consumption not only nourishes the creatures physically, but also enhances its undead resilience, making it far more difficult to destroy than its purely Illithid counterparts. In combat, the vampiric mind flayer is a formidable predator. It seamlessly blends its innate psionic assaults with the unnerving persistence of an undead hunter, utilizing powerful psychic blasts to disorient and incapacitate foes. It then closes in to drain their life force with relentless efficiency. Its undead resilience grants it immunity to certain types of damage and magical effects, allowing it to shrug off attacks that would fell a normal mind flayer. The creation of a vampiric mind flayer signifies a profound and perverse evolution within Illithid society. By commandeering death itself, these mind flayers transcend their reliance on the Elder Brain's collective intellect, forging a path of individual dominance and eternal predation. Their existence serves as a grim testament to the Illithid's willingness to blend psionics with any and all forces of nature, pushing the boundaries of what is possible and embracing the darkest aspects of undeath to further their insidious agenda. Encountering a vampiric mind flayer is to face a nightmare where intellect and vampiric hunger merge into a single unstoppable force. These creatures stalk the shadows of the Underdark and other dark realms, hunting with a single-minded purpose to sate their dual appetites. Their presence is a dire warning. The Illithid's quest for power knows no bounds, and their most heinous creations embody the ultimate fusion of mental mastery and vampiric terror. Moving on now to the Alhoon. Where most Illithids find ultimate solace and immortality within the embrace of the Elder Brain, certain heretics stray from this path. They turn their backs on psionic orthodoxy and begin down a forbidden road, the study of arcane magic. This deviation brands them as outcasts, forcing them to flee their colonies lest the Elder Brain root out their heresy. Alone, without the promise of joining the colony's communal intellect in death, these renegade mind flayers face an unsettling truth. When they perish, their minds will not merge with an Elder Brain, but simply vanish into oblivion. Determined to avoid such a fate, they seek out an alternate route to immortality, one known only through rare and perilous secrets. Thus are born the Alhoons, mind flayer arcanists who have clawed their way to a lich-like state through cunning, ritual, and grim sacrifice. The pursuit of arcane magic among Illithids is not a simple matter. By nature, mind flayers reject the worship of gods or reliance on outside patrons, placing them at odds with the common paths to wizardry or sorcery. Most who discover a spellbook treat it as anathema, destroying or discarding it with contempt. But a few see in those pages the reflections of another brilliant mind, a map to power untethered from the Elderbrain's psionic dominion. In inked spells and arcane theories, they find a new form of authority, one that might grant them a personal legacy surpassing their former station within the colony. Such forbidden studies cannot remain concealed indefinitely. Discovery forces these nascent arcanists to flee their colonies, leaving behind everything familiar. Some embrace solitude, cherishing hard-won independence. Others gather in secret enclaves, forming small cabals of like-minded arcanists who exchange knowledge and forbidden tomes. A rare few dream ambitiously to return to the Illithid society as leaders, challenging or replacing the Elderbrain itself with their new profound powers. Whatever their motives, they know that their path leads away from collective destiny and into the uncertain wilderness of personal ambition. Yet ambition alone does not stave off immortality. These arcane-minded Illithids still possess finite lifespans, and death would cast them into the void without the Elderbrain's afterlife. Traditional lichdom, demanding mastery of both arcana and necromantic secrets, proves challenging enough for ordinary spellcasters, but for Illithids, who rarely study such magic, it is an almost insurmountable goal. Even those who secure rare grimoires or perform unspeakable experiments often hit a dead end. Without teachers or mentors, they must piece together scraps of forbidden lore from half-burned spellbooks and whispered bargains with entities best left unnamed. Confronting this grim reality, a group of 9 Mindflayer arcanists once dared to rewrite the rules. Calling themselves the Alhoon, they fashioned a foul shortcut to everlasting existence through a device known as a periapt of mind trapping. Unlike a Lich's phylactery, which secures true immortality, the periapt of mind trapping offers a lesser, more tenuous form of undeath. Still, it frees these arcanists from an ordinary Illithid's greatest fear, the final silence of a mind lost forever. To undergo this transformation, at least 3 Illithid arcanists must cooperate, combining their psionic might and newfound spellcasting prowess. Over 3 days and nights, they conduct a ritual that blends arcane incantations with intense mental communion. A fist-sized container of silver, emerald, and amethyst, the periapt, is crafted to hold their essence. But the ritual does not end with mere craftsmanship. They must also sacrifice an equal number of living souls during the process, binding these spirits into the periapt's gem-studded core. The victim's life force anchors the arcanist's undeath, determining its potential duration. A venerable elf might bestow centuries of existence, while a short-lived humanoid grants only decades. Either way, this extended life is no gift of nature. It is purchased with blood and suffering. When the ritual concludes, each participant awakens free from mortality's chains. Known thereafter as Alhoons, they resemble mindflayers stripped to vitality. Initially, they look much like ordinary Illithids, save for the absence of the ever-present mucus coating that keeps the mindflayer's skin supple. Instead, Alhoon's flesh dries and cracks, their eyes becoming sunken and dull, and before long, their visage transforms into something unmistakably undead. hollow eye sockets reveal the faint pinpricks of undead light that mark Liches and their ilk. This transformation, however, is incomplete compared to true lichdom. The periapt of mind trapping does not restore an Alhoon if its body is destroyed. Instead, its mind lingers within the container, imprisoned with the other trapped Alhoon intellects and the sacrificed souls. Unshackled from the Elder Brain's embrace, yet reliant on the periapt's fragile magic, Alhoons are paradoxically more vulnerable in certain ways. Destroying the periapt consigns all contained minds to oblivion. For this reason, Alhoons guard their periapt with paranoid diligence. They raise wards and build hidden sanctums to conceal it. Some entrust the periapt to a single Alhoon, or set up elaborate security measures that would discourage even the boldest of adventurers. Whoever holds the periapt of mind trapping gains a disturbing advantage over the Alhoons linked to it. Armed with telepathic conduits that cannot be sealed, the holder can communicate with the trapped souls and Alhoons within, learning their secrets or simply tormenting them. Moreover, the Alhoons suffer disadvantage on attempts to challenge or harm the one holding their anchor, granting that fortunate individual a rare upper hand in dealing with these undead masterminds. The holder can also silence the sacrificed souls, ensuring that the Alhoons cannot glean aid from them, a subtle yet powerful form of leverage. Despite these vulnerabilities, Alhoons gain what they sought: freedom from the Elder Brain's oppressive destiny and from natural death's finality. With indefinite time to study and perfect their craft, they can pursue magical knowledge beyond what any ordinary Illithid might dream. Some retreat into isolated vaults, hoarding spellbooks and grimoires, and delving into magic no mind flayer has dared contemplate. Others wander, forging uneasy alliances with undead or mortal spellcasters, trading psionic secrets for forbidden spells, each seeking to refine their condition or find a path to true immortality. In the existence of Alhoons, we see what happens when Illithid brilliance meets arcane ambition and desperate necessity. This is no simple evolution, but a radical departure, a deliberate affront to the Elder Brain's natural order. Among the horrors Illithids have spawned, Alhoons stand apart, proof that even among these ruthless masterminds, some will risk all to shape their fate, forging a new legacy in undeath and arcane might. While Illithids rely heavily on their natural mental abilities, they are not beyond crafting and reshaping tools to extend their influence. Many of these implements might pass unnoticed by an untrained eye, yet each serves a precise function. Consider the Psi Crystal, a small, gleaming shard that grants telepathic gifts to its user, and glows brighter with the strength of their intellect. Such crystals can link minds over distances or pierce through language barriers, powers subtle yet invaluable to a colony that must remain hidden and informed. Beyond simple enhancements, the Mind Flayers also produce intricate instruments designed to manipulate perceptions and break down defences. Shield-like devices inscribed with Quailith, their tactile writing system, can let an Elder Brain peer through its minion's eyes or even channel psionic blasts into unexpected corners. Brain jars, meanwhile, preserve extracted intellects for study or later consumption, their silent presence hinting at a library of stolen thought. Their approach to tactics stems from these tools and from their natural cunning. Where a typical warrior might rely on a sword or shield, an Illithid's campaign of control is often over before a sword leaves its scabbard. Whispers placed within a guard captain's mind 2 weeks ago, a disgraced scholar nudged into obsession at just the right moment, or a plague quietly introduced into a distant farmland. Such invisible influences shape the battlefield long before enemies know a conflict has begun. To the Illithids, every subtlety counts. They move as puppeteers, pulling at threads others barely recognize. Their magic items and psionic devices embody this philosophy, each one extending their reach and hiding their hand. In these quiet manipulations, they exercise a patient, strategic power, one that may return them to influence if they remain ever watchful and ever willing to bend tools, minds, and circumstances to their will. In studying the Illithids, we find more than just a catalogue of horrors. Their story teaches us how arrogance, left unchecked, breeds downfall. It was their own complacency that allowed the Gith to rise up. It was their addiction to stolen intellects that blinded them to the fragility of their rule. Their once great empire, built on subjugation and fear, collapsed because they could not fathom that their victims might band together and fight back. These lessons resonate for those of us who would claim power through coercion. No matter how cunning, how clever, or how skilled one may be, the oppressed will not remain passive forever. History may forget petty tyrants, but it never truly forgets great ones who fall. In these ruins of Illithid ambitions, a warning is etched. Underestimate the resolve of the downtrodden at your own peril. Yet in equal measure, the Illithids teach us about resilience. Though shattered and hunted, they adapt, survive, and even dare to plan for a future resurgence. This duality, terrifying cruelty and stubborn endurance, serves as a reminder that neither good nor evil holds a monopoly on perseverance. Understanding this is not acceptance, but a way to guard one's mind against their influence and to steel oneself against other threats that lurk unseen. We have travelled through the Illithid's past and present, seen their fall from astral heights to underground shadows, and marvelled at their cunning tools and monstrous creations. We have learned how they feed on thought itself, how they twist minds and shape realities to suit their needs. Armed with these insights, we stand better prepared should we ever cross their path. To know them is to rob them of some measure of surprise. Their strengths become clearer, their tactics less mysterious, and while knowledge alone cannot guarantee victory, it can dispel the helpless dread born from ignorance. As I close these pages and dim the lamp, remember that what we have examined are no mere legends. Illithid still dwells somewhere below, still plotting, still hungering. Let these lessons guide you should you descend into those depths. May you emerge unbroken in mind and spirit, standing as proof that understanding the darkness is the first step towards keeping it at bay.